Hello, Jeppe, and namaste. I'm sorry for not uploading something last week, but it was quite busy as I was, flying back and then meeting a lot of friends, and therefore, well, wasn't able to shoot something by myself. Um, but yeah, here we are. Gotta move forward, right? I've seen you uploaded a more intricate video on Wednesday. I will still watch that after making this, after completing everything. And yeah, you asked me to talk about Iceland and how it was. Well, obviously, it was amazing. Um, the first week I spent by myself, went into a hostel, and, well, toured around the country with first public transports and trips. So, touristing tours and everything booked online. And that was fun. But in the second part of the week, I was meeting friends and getting to know friends who rented a car so that we could, well, drive to hikes ourselves and engage in those while not having any time limits. That was pretty cool as well. Like, it was such beautiful scenery, and maybe I'll edit some photos in here. Who knows? Um, but yeah, I was thinking about doing more with these. I've taken a lot of pictures, but I'll see what I can do next week. To be fair, I kind of enjoy my free time right now, and I don't spend too much time on productive things, but I'll see. All right, second week. You asked me, it sounded like you were traveling with fellow students, and that is kind of true. I've done a webinar series before this. It was 12 sessions long, and there I got to know some friends, of which, not friends, well, now they're friends, students, of which two were from the University of Groningen and only one came with us to the summer school. Nevertheless, there were so many other people, especially quite a lot of Germans, surprisingly, that came from all the different universities that were included in that project. So there was um, some from the University of Copenhagen, some from the University of Oos as well. Oos, you know. University of Applied Sciences in Jena, in Germany, Zurich, Ljubljana in Slovenia, the University of Groningen, of course, a lab in Paris, the University of Leuven in Belgium, and the University of Iceland, of course. Right, and the Haifa Technological Institute of Israel. There were a lot of people there from there as well. And what we did was thinking at the edge in the workshop of embodied critical thinking. It's also called explicit method and practice of an implicit happening. That's all the withinning and abouting. But in this specific case, we were focusing more on working on our independent project, whatever that may be. For me, it was thinking about whether I would like AIs to have emotions and considering all the pros and cons, my motivation behind everything, and, well, certain nuances to it. And the first step was the birthing process, where you collect everything that is of interest to you and your project, and just generally scrape things together that you were interested in and write them down, kind of. The next step was felt sensing and finding handles. So, like, those are the four broad categories we were dealing with, and all these had substeps. So we had 12 substeps in total. And the felt sensing and finding handles was steps 1 to 5. And you had to formulate a key sentence where every word was kind of meaningful and summarizing of what you feel about this whole topic, of what you collected just very roughly before. The video is too long, but I guess you know how it is, and last week I didn't do something, so maybe I have some more time today. Anyway, for example, they mentioned forming the sentence is like an experimenting laboratory for figuring out how to not lose experiential intricacy when moving into language, theory, and abstraction. So if you're thinking about your project very subjectively, as soon as you try to put it into words, you lose these subjective nuances, this feeling, these felt dimensions. And that's what they try to, well, avoid, or at least be aware of, because there's a lot of polishing coming afterwards. And yeah, appreciating the more than logical structure in the background. So whatever doesn't fit conceptually is not of big importance. It's how you can include all these things that you feel, may they be paradoxical to each other, and how you can include them still into this one sentence. And then you do dropping and dipping. Quite a fun thing. I think you can make a game out of this. But you basically take your key concepts, the concepts you're interested in within your sentence, and you drop them. So you take distance and you try to approach them from a different perspective while not losing any meaning you put into, or you had while taking this word. You draw out what matters within that concept for you from different perspectives. So you can drop the concept multiple times while figuring out different meanings and, well, yeah, find new angles. And then you try to implement all these new meanings, all these new nuances you've just became aware of into another word or more words. So for example, I had the paradox where I was talking about completeness, and where I was saying, okay, for me, completeness is more than the sum of its parts. There's something more that constitutes the completeness besides its parts. And then I had to put that into one word again. But what is more complete than completeness? So I ended up with more than completeness. So my sentence, maybe to give some more context, was where is it? A lingering sadness and melancholy leading to the creation of emotional warmth, opportunities, and thus completeness. And I changed this to and thus more than completeness, just as an example. Then the next step was to find instances. So instances in your life, experiences you've made that may be of importance or may not be of importance to the project. Kind of, important to your project, but it can be that you weren't aware of this. So you should surprise yourself. And then you work with these instances and do the crossing, where you look from one instance onto the other one and try to find patterns in between those. So I didn't do this step, unfortunately, because I was still stuck with previous steps. It was like everyone was working in their own pace, and therefore I took my time, just like I do with this video. I need to cut this down. But nevertheless, you were looking from one instance at the other and realize that there's a certain link between those. And with this link, you can look onto the other one again and find new meanings. It's basically like a snowball effect, where you jump from one to the other, and because you've always found something new, you realize so much more about your project, because you, of course, try to relate this to your project within the specific instances. You basically take the sunglasses and filter out what is of importance in that specific instance and cross it with the other. And then lastly, that's where the logical part came into play. You put them into some kind of triangle. So you took 3 key concepts out of this workshop and equate them with A, B, and C and put them into logical relations. So A is, for me it was, give me a second, for me, it was A, emotion, B, societal perfection, and C, completeness. While societal perfection was, that's a whole different video. Everything becoming the same, everything becoming the perfect standard, and therefore losing the chaos, like Jordan Peterson, for example, says. And that's why it was very negatively connotated. And I found it hard to equate it with completeness, where the subjective achievement and fulfillment is also included. And I thought that was quite in contrast to each other. And then you had to equate them and put them into relations, no matter how paradoxical they are, and work with those and try to find the links in between. And that was quite difficult. I will come back to this in another video, but I did find some relation. And with these links you found out afterwards, you were writing a new sentence that summarizes everything quite well. And then you could work on your project with more clarity. It was kind of like a creative creative writing workshop, and quite different to what I was used to. It was new, kind of weird sometimes, but helpful to find new angles onto things if you're stuck. And that's why I appreciated the course, and especially the atmosphere. Everyone was so involved. Everyone was so shaken by this method. In contrast to me, I was just sitting there like, okay, this is new, this is strange, this is alien to me. And everyone else was just completely into it. And that was just lovely. But I don't know how often I will learn or use this technique, but it was fun. And besides that, we did 2 excursions, once again to the volcano and the other one to the geothermal areas. But yeah, I think I will come back to those in another video, because this is 13 minutes. How did I end up with this? Anyway, yes, very interesting. I think you would be very interested as well, because there are certain topics where I saw you, like I could totally see you feeling what they were talking about. And I was actually asked whether I know someone who I could share these information with, because they were interested, my partner was interested, whether I had some friends like he did, where he was saying like, yeah, I have this friend who I could think of doing these interviews with more often. And I was thinking like, yeah, maybe Jeppe would do that as well. But we need to do that in person, because this is so time consuming. Like every step we had to do ourselves with our partner, and took like 40 minutes each. So that is very time consuming, and it's so exhausting and mentally draining, but quite worth it. It's interesting to explore your inner mental landscape, and looking at the details. Nevertheless, I need to get to a closure. I will watch your videos. Thank you very much for keeping up. I'll try to be. I'll try to improve, and I wish you a nice weekend. And talk to you later. Bye bye.